Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to FM24 Youth Factory. This is episode 16. We're going to be heading into the new season shortly, but we've got to catch up on our reputation growth, but also a couple other things. It's 2030. It's time to catch up on. We're not into the league yet, so it's really not that big of a deal quite yet. We're not that close to it mattering. We might as well check in and what's going on at the top end above us a ways. So in the Premier Division, on the final day of the season, Man City dropped from first to third. They lost their last match of the season, and that flipped them from champions to third place in a single day. Arsenal, who was equal on points but behind on goal differential, ended up equaling that goal differential but adding that 3 points on that final day to win the title. And Liverpool also did enough for themselves to pick up the pieces. Had both of those teams failed, they jumped to second, but that's a huge flip on the final day. The other Champions League spots going to Tottenham, and with the coefficient bonus, Manchester United make it 5 for the Champions League, and then Chelsea, only 6th for them this year. Newcastle United, so the Big Seven, are the Big Seven. Brighton picking up the pieces to get best of the rest status and the final Europa League spot. So triple Europa League, no Conference League for them. Past winners, well, Man City had won 3 straight. They were trying to make a quadruple in terms of championships in the Premier League in a row, but they drop, and so Arsenal gets their first championship of that modern era. Chelsea had been the best team, other than, remember, this series started in FM23, so Man City picked up that initial one. Chelsea always overrated on this game. They are the most expensive club on the planet right now. They have spent gobs and gobs of cash and have been awful. They're outside the top 10. They've been consistently outside the top 10 for the last couple of years and show zero signs of suddenly being a contender. And yet, back-to-back championships, and here they're struggling in 6th place. Still far better than what they're doing in real life. Liverpool have only been crowned champions a single time in here, and Arsenal just with this last day winner. So it's been mostly Man City and Chelsea. In terms of the coefficients, as being the playable league and all the depth, it doesn't surprise me that the Premier Division remains on top of the coefficients competition-wise, but La Liga is far above Italy and France this last season coefficient-wise for that bonus Champions League spot, but Bundesliga is still ranked 3rd in the competition review. As for just a few key players and where they're located right now, Martinelli for Arsenal, 23 goals, was the Golden Boot winner, right ahead of Rashford with 22, still at Man United. Jadon Sancho has moved on to Liverpool and found life so much better there, as he was the best player in terms of rating in the league. He also had the most Player of the Match awards this season. Alisson still at Liverpool and leading the way in terms of shutouts, ahead of Ederson and Ramsdale. Assists, Newcastle United's Samuel Ricci on top. One notable transfer here is Scott McTominay leaving Manchester United for Wolves and topping the charts in terms of yellow cards. I know that one's behind the face cam, but while I haven't lost any players yet, as we're going to proceed through, it's late June now, we've still got more than a month, or about a month, till the season actually starts. It's just preseason time. The offers that are coming in already, a lot of League 2 offers were offering near maximum in terms of player value, and the championship sides are just starting to come in. I have a feeling we're going to lose upwards of 4 players or 5 players this season. It could be a rough one for us. We've gotten a lot more attention now we've climbed to the National League, and the quality of players we have could be an issue. So there's a chance we hang on to the squad and we settle deals early and we get loan backs for the year and keep the squad content and fly through the National League and get into League 2. And then lose a bunch of players as we go into the League 2 season with a significantly weakened squad, which at that time you would expect that we would be kind of retooling, replacing guys, and maybe not performing quite as well in the League 2 season. I'd take that at this point. I think that would be a good enough option for us, and of course that would secure funding long-term down the road. But this looks and feels so far like a summer in which the attention is just too much, and we're not going to be fending off teams much longer. We've already gotten guys on the edge or even slightly above value, so we're close. For me, it's going to be championship sides or larger to come in and make those offers, because League Two sides, there's just no money in making those deals. We actually just cashed in on one of those. Penrys, former goalkeeper for us. He's been gone 3.5 years now, Herbie Penrys, and we just collected $500,000. His initial value when he left was $8 million, but it's dropped off. He's not gotten that starting job. He's not become the guy. He's moved from Forest Green on to Sunderland, so he's moved to a bigger club. But Forest Green, I mean, it's not that big of a club that he's left behind. And without becoming the guy, a lot of his value just kind of went away. They've cashed in. They've made some money off of him. We've made some money off of him, but it's quite minimal. Man City's still topping the reputation rankings, and we're looking at 6 clubs with a worldwide reputation. The only one of the big 7 missing from that is Manchester United. Even though they finished 4th this year, their reputation continues to slide a little bit season by season. The game very much does not like Manchester United compared to the other clubs. Getting down to our territory, Mansfield, Walsall are the top National League teams. I think Mansfield was among those who just promoted, potentially. And then we get into the overlap zone. Woking was one of the teams that was just relegated, so their reputation has dropped a fair bit, from 2 stars down to 1.5. Harrogate is among the teams, along with us, that has promoted. Remember, there was 2 divisions, North and South, and so they are the 2nd team promoted from the North. They were not the automatic. The break point for regional status down to local status is in our range. It's National League down to National League North, and our reputation has not climbed significantly. We are still very much down in the National League South type territory. In fact, haven't seen our names pop up yet. Where the break from regional to local is here. The break point for 1.5 stars down to 1 is here, and we still have not seen our names. Surprisingly, we really should be coming in here any moment, and yet we've got teams that are 2 tiers below us right now that somehow still have a larger reputation. There we finally come in at what is the very bottom, well, not the very bottom quarter, 6th tier sides, and we're now a 5th tier side. So our reputation did not grow significantly. We have got to be the lowest reputation side in the National League. Certainly looks that way. The next lowest is Bath City, and they are the final 1-star team. So hopefully playing in the National League for the first time will continue to see our reputation rise a bit, so that we can at least make that bottom end over the course of this season, which of course then we are hoping anyway to push to League 2, which Woking is not in League 2 anymore. Ebbsfleet is below every single League 2 side, but for all we know, they might have just gotten relegated to League 2. Fleetwood Town just got relegated, so that's the other team that's going down to the National League, so we're going to be playing against them this season. So we're looking at Walsall, Fleetwood, Cheltenham as the biggest reputation clubs. They're at 2 stars. Most of the league is at 1.5, mixed between regional and local reputation. And we definitely come in lagging behind this season. All things considered, though, from where we were with a literal reputation of 1 out of 10,000, we've made up a ton of ground in a short period of time, promoting that fast and starting from nothing to get to where we're at. Definitely not doing bad, but we are lagging behind the competition head to head. With the season less than a week away, the odds makers have picked us as favorites. Title favorites, 9-4 odds. Promotion odds are virtually at a 1-1. They like us. Southend United, Woking, Mansfield, Kidderminster, the other favorites for the top of the league. Dover comes in at 22nd at 100-1. Dover with the surprise promotion. I do suspect that they're going to find it more difficult at this level. We're talking about a team that was 7th last season to our 1st. Yes, that's a gap. But no, they were not weak. If they are almost dead last with just Stevenage and I know, I think it's pronounced funny. AFC file. I don't think filed is filed. I think it's like filled or filled a or anyway. AFC filed. If they're the only two teams picked below Dover, is that simply because of the surprise promotion, or are they not being taken seriously? And if they are considered that bad, that weak, the step up in opposition could be difficult for us, and we might not be an automatic for the promotion odds as they suggest. The good news, though, is they don't think we're going to should have any fear regarding relegation. 700 to 1 odds of relegation this season. So for that part, things are looking good, looking up. Lanahan Penreese is actually odds-on favorite to be leading goal scorer for this season, so his quality is showing, and they think he's going to be pretty good once again this season. So far, we haven't lost any players. Adekunle feels like it's going to happen anytime, but the fantastic news was I had an offer from Wrexham that was big enough. It was beyond, and we tried to negotiate with them. It's happened twice now that they've gotten to a high enough offer, and I've gone into negotiations, but in asking for the loan back, they want him available right now today. They want him part of their senior squad, so they've dropped the offer each time that's happened when I've stipulated that we need him back for this season. He's important to us this season. As a result, what's happening now that we're getting into those negotiations is his value is increasing. The first time it only increased marginally, but this last time it saw his value increase to over $500,000. That means the offers coming in for him, which have been steady and close to that limit, just not quite on the Wrexham level, should go up quite a bit, and maybe it'll shift the attention more towards championship sides than League One sides, because right now it's been all League One and League Two sides that are offering, and they just don't offer enough, and they don't push his value enough to give us anything in return later on. Wrexham's an interesting one, because Wrexham is League One these days, has been League One for many years. In game, again, we started with FM23, so in game, they started National League, won it that first season, went to League Two, won it that second season. They've been in League One ever since. The first year in League One was a hang on, let's not get relegated after 2 quick promotions kind of season. But since then, they've been in the top 6 every single season. They've been in the promotion playoffs every single season. Last season, they were 3rd, but failed to promote. So they've been right there, right on the edge, and they're one of the favorites. So there's a very good chance that Wrexham should be in the next year or 2 or 3 years become that championship side and be a stable championship side. They have the means, they have the capability, and that would turn our let Adekunle go to Wrexham into hopefully a big wad of cash down the road, potentially. Not a given, not a guarantee, but a strong possibility. So if there's going to be any League One side that's going to come along and pry a player away from us, it's going to be Wrexham. They've actually come in for more than one player for us as well. Getting the attention is that semi-regional, Wales, Cornwall, not that far off from each other, but we're talking about a pretty small nation where nothing is that far off from one another. The drive clear across country is nothing compared to just driving a couple states in the U.S. We put some more hours in on our drives. Pretty clear why Adekunle is getting a lot of attention right now. The teams are really, really sending one offer in after another. Second best potential ability, and definitely could be good enough for Premier League play. And current ability is getting solid. 117 current ability is absolutely up there and easily good enough to play League Two or better at this point. So he's good for our level. Mortland is also getting a lot of attention for similar reasons. Potential's nearly there. Current ability's nearly there compared to Adekunle. His offers are coming in higher and higher. Fortunately for us, for him, I haven't had to entertain any of those offers yet. Offer after offer has been pushed right towards the limit, and it's actually pushed up his valuation a little bit. And then the offers have come in a little bit higher, but because his evaluation went a little higher, he hasn't been exceeding it. at least not by more than maybe 1%. Just very, very minute difference. Not enough so that I have to entertain that offer. Our minimum security on this, we did push it out a little bit, not just at any dollar amount over, because those valuations, especially when it's League 2, League 1 sides, really don't fit the bill. They've got to come in with a fairly substantial offer. And I'm not making it be crazy high or anything, just a little bit over. If their evaluation's 100K, I'm not going to accept a 105K offer. That's just too small of a gap. So, but 130K, oh, I'm totally taking that. 125K, depending on how it's fit, I'll negotiate those. But Lanahan Penreese is right there behind him, Dan Kitching, and he's getting tons of offers. He's been asking out all the way back into last season. So Kitching, Moreland, Adekunle right now are the three that are the most likely. Paul Davidson, though, among those who is wanted, and we are getting smaller offers for him. Nothing big yet, but the very first offer that came in got his attention. So he could be making a fuss and being a bit problematic for us entering the season. Morale for Adekunle and Kitching in particular, not good right now. Wilkinson getting offered pennies. He wants out because he wants a starting job, and he's good enough to get it with that 94 current ability. I don't want to lose him because Lanahan Penreese very well could be leaving us. We need that solid backup. And Archie Jones, well, can play on that left wing, is more of the Thornhill interchangeable piece. Despite the injuries, Sam Julian has caught up a lot and become a pretty solid goalkeeper at this point. McFadden and Webb are also good. Redknapp, the weak link in the starting lineup, and it kind of shows in his ratings and how he performs. And he's slowly gotten better, but very slowly. I mean, I think he started in the 70s, current ability-wise. He's still only in the 80s, but his potential is only a 103. But that's been good for us for not losing a player of his level, of his caliber. But at 23, he's not progressing very fast. But if we can get him 90, 95, he can continue to be serviceable for us. But I'd like to have him be the backup as opposed to the starter at some point. But speaking of backups, I made 2 changes, well, technically 3 changes in the senior squad. One player out, Mark Walker, who had a very limited potential but was a bit ahead current ability compared to others, has been bumped to the U23s. In his stead, we have 2 players that we have called up. So we've taken just one off the senior squad and replaced him with 2 guys that are up and coming, giving us a little bit more depth, a little more options in what we have in the senior squad. Guys that are very much ready to go. We're looking at a group here in the 70s. The 2 additions, Matty Baker, 79. He's also got limited potential, so he's always going to just be a backup, but as a 79, 89 winger who can play on either wing. Looking at him overtaking Kasungo Mutombo, who's been kind of that backup piece, and he's only a one wing kind of guy, so I think he's a better option off the bench. And if we can get Matty Baker a few more points, get him into the low 80s at least, it would definitely set him apart from Kasungo Mutombo, and he's a lot faster, so he adds some speed on the wing. Rossini is the other guy we've added in. He's the actual replacement for Mark Walker, and he's 10 points, maybe 8-9 points ahead of Mark Walker, but unlike Mark Walker, who had the limited potential, Rossini's got a 111 potential, so he's good enough to be a regular contributor. He's good enough to maybe take over at right back for us in the near future. And Kamara is also a guy who has developed to the point with an 85 current ability to be quite usable versus McFadden and Redknapp, but he's just a notch below their quality, and with the limited potential, I'm just not sure he's going to ever really overtake either of them. But that now gives us 4 wingers to pick from on a regular basis, and that should make life a bit easier. And he's capable of playing center back as well. Primus still the backup defensive mid. That's kind of our weak link now, as we just have the 2 guys there. But Thornhill, I think more and more often, if we're sitting one of our defensive mids, Thornhill's going to play with Archie Jones, then coming in that attacking mid role. Thornhill wasn't great in the attacking mid role anyway. We had to adapt him to that, and maybe Thornhill's more suited to the defensive mid role anyway. and that eases off the reliance of Primus. But without a further backup at that attacking mid, it still leaves us a little limited on choice. Overall, though, our depth has definitely got better. We were looking at guys that were 50s and 60s to now almost entirely 70s, 80s for our backups, even some of the guys into the 90s for our backups. So real progress in terms of the starting 11 quality, but also the backup, the depth that we have. And for that, I'm looking forward to this season. As long as we can hang on to this roster, if an offer is big enough, I might not have a choice. It is summer. I might have to let players go. It's January where I really have to force the issue, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna back off with Wrexham. Not for a League One side. It's gonna have to be a championship side or larger who comes in with a substantial offer, well over asking that I would back off on the loan back. But they're the ones that are more likely to accept the loan back anyway, which is what I'm looking for. I'd like to keep the players around for that one more year to help us get promoted and reach League 2. Speaking of our season, a couple days away, ready to go. I'm excited to kick off and see what we can do in the National League. You may remember that this last season, just a handful of months ago, we had a good intake, and we've had good intake year after year. There's been two bad intakes over all the seasons that we've done this. Season 2, way back at the beginning of the series, it seems like you always get a good first season because no one has that established full year. So your numbers come in and you tend to get good solid players. But by season 2, the lack of a staff, the lack of a reputation, way down in the 11th tier shows up. A bad performing team from the year before, and you get a really bad intake. We had that. I have that every time. I've run this experiment multiple times, and that's happened every time. Good first intake, bad second intake. Happens every time. We ended up with a second bad intake, though, and that was that transition to FM24 when the save moved up. That calculation that normally happens, that occurs, that goes through that phase. Well, the intake was like a week and a half after. It was a matter of days after we started or transferred the save to FM24. And it threw a wrench in that process, and we ended up with a really poor intake. So we've kind of lost out on a year of players. There's only a few guys, a handful that are 17. Way less than what is normal and way less quality than what is normal. Therefore, it's thinned out our U18s a little bit. And with the guys who just aged up, it's left us a little light on our U18 squad, but it's okay. Light, but okay. Not too bad. But a bunch of guys just moved up to the 21s. And I only added one to the senior level. And we had 11 new intake players, and we only let go of 8 players, and only 6 of those were at this level. And I think we ended up with more than 11 players, or about 11 players moving up. So right now our U21s is a little bloated. So decisions need to be made, and I need to make them soon before the deadline kind of comes and goes, because I might be able to cash in on a few of these guys. For one, our U21s is finally emitting some quality. Some of these guys are the ones that just leveled up, or just aged out of the U18s. You can see there's a lot of 18, 19-year-old players here, and less of the guys that were in the 22, 23 and just never good enough, never had anything about them that saw them make the senior squad. Didn't see the development. We finally have Maxwell Grigg down in the U21s, finally, after all these years. The goalkeeper is a bit light. I let 2 guys go. Kept Greg for some reason. He's still technically got better potential. Anyway, there is a few too many guys here. So I need to either loan out a few, try to sell a couple, or I need to eliminate a few contracts. So I'm going to need to break down this U21 squad, see what we have, if I have an abundance of wingers or an abundance of center backs, might need to part ways with a couple guys and just let those contracts go, because too many players hurts the training of everybody else. And, you could see it's looking a little Christmassy over here. There's red and green. There's guys all over the place. Like this guy, Paul Allen, not training well. Others are. So that could be a real sign. Marcos, 21, 82 limitation. Might be somebody to let go. Plays that center attacking mid, though, and that's something we don't have the depth on. But Finn Coots doesn't have better potential, but Finn Coots is a better player. Barely. So it's like, what do you do then? Well, he still has some potential, and he seems to be growing a little bit, so maybe you leave him around. But either through loans or parting ways or selling some guys, we need to thin this squad out by a good 6 players or more. 6 to 8 players. So I've got a little work to do before I start the season here in a few days. So far I've managed to part ways with 4 players and found that those 4 players in particular not only didn't have a good current ability, but their training ratings were terrible and generally were a little bit on the older side. So they made a lot of sense to drop and eliminate. As you then reshape the squad and take another look at it, it's already starting to look a lot better. A lot less noise without those guys here. And one area in particular, the last few players at the bottom of the screen are covered up, but I'm really down to just 2 players that aren't training well. One of them just came up, Paul Allen from the U18s. I think I might try. He's got some potential. I might try to put him on the loan list and see what happens. He's not performing well here, but that's not to say that get him into a senior squad. He might perform fantastic and do better. It's worth a shot. So Paul Allen, I'm going to try to loan out. Jonathan Healy's too old anyway. We're going to try to loan him out. He's nearly at his potential. Worth hanging on to-ish. It's more of depth for defensive mid, as I just lack in that defensive mid depth. That's the one position that I am most worried about when it comes to depth, besides goalkeeper. And then Maxwell Grigg, the only other one who's training poorly now. So, and hands tied there. Again, that's the 2 positions. So try to load out Healy and Allen, and that would get us to 6, and that would definitely thin out what's here and not have too much noise and guys not getting to do anything and eat up coaches' effort during training sessions. And I think we're starting to get in a pretty good place, and I'm liking that things are getting a little more selective this year in what's around. Our U21s in particular was just a hot mess that we've only slowly been able to clean up and get guys that had potential, that get guys that were developing. We're finally getting a little bit of all of that. And the season is set to kick off with our usual formation, our usual lineup, but at a new level. AFC filed the opponent for this first match. We are favorites for this one. We are at home for this one. Can our team pull it together? The good news, as we are starting the season, is that in the last 2 days, both of our players, Adekunle and Kitchen, that have been upset over transfer offers, have both decided they are happy to stay at the club. So at the moment, we are not suffering from morale issues. There's other players that have hinted that they want to do something, but they have not made a fuss. On with the game, on with the season. McFadden into Lanahan Penreese, who overlaps, and Davidson gets the first goal 7 minutes into the season, and Davidson and Lanahan Penreese have already combined for their first goal of the year. Now, most of our attention that we've had on players in the early stages has been surrounding League 2 and League 1 sides. The championship sides are just starting to catch on and notice that the players are good enough and think of long-term development. Maybe their big deals are already done for the year and going, hey, here's a hot prospect who's young. Why don't we try to bring them in? And we have some leftover transfer money as we get our second Ben Hassel on the score sheet off the corner kick, far post. Adekunle with his first assist of the year, and that's 3 of our 4 attackers already grabbing a goal or an assist early on. But Hackett, free kick from a dangerous position, but that's cleared away. It's nearly halftime. Can we get out of this situation? Cross. Guy looked offside. Flag is raised. Let me know in the comments if, as we have an increased attendance, maybe it's just because it's the first game of the season and there's a lot of fans here compared to what we're used to. Maybe it's because we're in the National League now. Maybe it's that growing reputation. So could be a sustained type thing on those last two versus the first one that's really just first game of the season. But increased fan support means added noise. For me, in my ears, it's sounding a little loud, but I've been at the same volume for a long time and haven't had any reports of anything, but this sounds louder than normal. So if it is too loud, let me know so that I can turn it down in future episodes. Coming up on halftime, 6-2 on the shots, that's it. The XG is all us. Big chances that we have created. Really 3 of them. Goal did not come off of a big chance, corner kick anyway. Over the offseason, I made a promise to the team, which has been embraced directly by a handful of players, maybe 6, have taken on the promise that we are going to let some youth develop this season. So I do need to make sure that I start playing some youth. This feels like a good game for that opportunity if the game progresses in the next 20 minutes and we're still on top. Now 3-0 Davidson with a brace. That's a poor tackle from Hackett. Big miss there. Is it Redknapp or is it into Adekun? No, it's Redknapp. Redknapp just beats his man Hackett, and then Davidson beat the defenders. Nothing the goalkeeper could do there, but those defenders should have been marking better. But it's 3-0. Today it's the usual suspects on the bench, as everyone's healthy. But I definitely need to start bringing those new players, those youth players, into the side a bit more. Funny thing is, we don't get anywhere near enough credit for playing youth when you have a starting goalkeeper who's 17, 18 years of age, and they don't count him because he got his debut the year before. Like, what's that? That's a young player getting a chance. That's a young player featuring in their side. When you've got multiple guys in your starting lineup that are 18, 19 years of age, 20 years of age, how is that not giving youth a chance? The game is very weird about that. Especially if they're only in their second season with the squad. That's giving youth a chance, folks. That is giving youth a chance. But anyway, looking pretty comfortable through this one. Atkins on a yellow and tired will bring... see, I don't even have... We have Jones. Thornhill. We'll have to make that double sub there. Thornhill not actually having the greatest games here either, but we don't have another option for him. Lanahan Penreese is having a very good game and is getting fairly tired, so maybe we'll bring on Wilkinson. Wilkinson is somebody that I need to get a little bit more time to here in the short term to maybe get him on the happy side and hope that he'll want to stick around the club. Kitching clears that one away. Him in a good mood could make for a very good season at center back, as all last year he was upset, or at least all but the first couple games of the season. So if we can get him happy even for a period, he should perform much better than he did a year ago. Archie Jones goes really close on that one, but the keeper dives on it just before he gets there, and it's stoppage time, folks. Final seconds. 3-0. Comfortable. Love to see it. Great start to the season. Fans celebrate. Big crowd on hand. Maybe our biggest crowd outside of an FA Cup match. That was all on 9 shots. Just 4 on target, but we get 3 in. The XG suggests that there was nothing wrong with getting 3 in either. We played well. We were just clinical in our finishes. Well, that is our introduction to the season. It's here, it's time, but the transfer window is far from closed. Of course, we're in the National League, so ours does not close at that deadline, but there's no longer teams and divisions above us beyond that deadline. The teams in our division are not going to be stealing our players, so for that, we really don't need to worry about anything beyond the transfer deadline. League 2 and above all have to adhere to that deadline and will no longer be a threat to us. But for now, that deadline is still in the future, still weeks away. So we have got to hope we can hang on to our players in the meantime. For now, fingers crossed, we've got everybody happy. The longer we can hang on to that as well, the better, easier of a season we could be looking at. Our attackers have performed well in this one outside of Thornhill, and otherwise the whole team performed really well in that game, actually. So happy with how things are progressing for now and starting into the new season. And our new stadium on the way. Less than 3 years from now, we'll be kicking off in a new stadium. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.